Hi and welcome. I'm Angela Ambrosia and we're doing the Shame-Free Love series to really start looking into being in a totally new space of love. So in the I Love Mondays videos that I've been doing throughout 2015, it's actually been preparing for a new space of love. So if you've been able to follow regularly, you'll know that the heart is where I program a lot of that new space. So today we're going to talk about the emotional body and how it actually destabilizes the heart or makes the heart wobble, literally vibrate in a way that is destabilizing. So if you can think about shame and how it actually imprints in your life, how does it interfere with your ability to be free, to connect, to be yourself, to actually just think positively about dating or about jumping into a relationship or a relationship conflict and saying, I can get a positive outcome from this? If you think about shame, the very nature of it is to go into your emotional body, which is in the organs, of course the heart, but there's many more organs than the heart. Especially for women, we have a very synchronous relationship between our womb and the heart. So the womb is about the same size as the heart itself. So if you have your left fist there, it's about the shape and size of your heart. And for women, the womb is about the same shape and it has the same muscle fibers. So women, especially because we birth and we carry through the womb, if you don't birth a child, you've been most of your life carrying your cycle of your menses through there and preparing for a figurative child or a real one. So you often as a woman have a very strong emotional connection between the physical heart and the womb itself. Now for men, they still have that emotional connection with the second chakra, but that second chakra or the prostate area is also much more directly connected to the gonads and the sexual organs as well. So sexuality and emotionality for men is still deeply connected. So men still feel, but women are constantly processing on the emotional level as well. That's why you'll notice that people in the emotional helping professions are majority at this time women. That is going to change as men start to balance more their emotional body. So shame is programmed in the heart, especially in those sexual organs, the gonads, and for men and women. And you may have situations with men at the moment where they have erectile dysfunction. It's becoming a bigger thing in our society. Why? Because old programs of shame that are stored in our DNA, in our body, in our organs, is now coming up to interfere with our physical body. It's going to affect your heart, it's going to make anxiety more prevalent, and it's actually going to make intimacy or sexual intimacy or physical confidence in the body a lot more of a physical problem. So the very strong connection between our emotions and our physical body, I'm going to review, I've said this before in our series on I Love Mondays throughout 2015. If you have an emotional experience, it goes through the nervous system. We have the limbic brain, right in the middle of our heads. It's a small part of the brain. It's an ancient part of the brain. It stores all our basic needs of lust, hunger, thirst, primal things that make us go out and do something beyond our logical mind. In the face of fear, it moves us beyond fear, but it also stores memory of when things didn't work. So we draw on things that work and didn't work, and the limbic brain is connected to our ancestral memories of what worked and didn't work as a human race. We've been doing this for a couple of 100,000 of years. So the limbic brain, ancient. Okay, more ancient than the grey matter, the newer part of the brain, and the prefrontal cortex. That emotional brain has been there to just get us to survive, and it's stored a lot of shame and memories of things that didn't feel good in our body. So we've got that limbic brain here. It remembers something didn't feel good, didn't feel right. I didn't make something work, therefore maybe something is wrong with me, therefore I'm not XYZ enough, whatever that story is. And then from the limbic brain, it goes down our nervous system all the way down into the nervous plexus that goes down the spine into our digestive organs. So under the heart and around the heart, you have the lungs, and that's where a lot of things get stored in terms of anxiety or fear. Then we go down to our kidneys, which is in the back body. And then we go into the front body of the digestive organs, so small intestine, stomach, spleen, pancreas, all around that solar plexus area, and our nice liver on the right. And then once we start to go further down, you get to the really sensitive, vulnerable places. The large intestine is in front of that uterus or prostate area, and your bladder. So the bladder is something that's not really spoken about a lot, but if you think about it, it's very much connected to our limbic brain. We have to know when to hold and when to release. And it's very much connected to the other gonads and the organs. So the bladder is also incredibly important expansion and contraction organ. All of the organs expand and contract. Our stomach and bladder are made of tissue that really can expand more than other organs. So there's an ability to really hold, and then shrink. It's this flexibility organ, but it's also over time, over age, after being potty trained from when we're small, we actually can lose a sense of being able to control and hold. And it gets, the bladder is actually right on top of that pelvic floor, which kind of is our root chakra and our way of holding all of ourselves together, holding all of the internal organs together. So there's a lot of organs, and that's where a lot of memories also get stored, because the organs, remember, have been processing for us our whole lives. So from the limbic memory, which has our ancestral memory, even down to the DNA of the body, we have memories of shame. We have memories of never really being quite the human kind that we could have been. We haven't been kind in humanity. We've experienced moments where we've hurt each other, and this hurt, while you may have experienced it in this life, I guarantee you your ancestors have also experienced it. So in our DNA, which is also stored in the organs and the memory of the organs, in your ancestral line, you'll have memories and stories of shame. So if you've had any situations to be shameful about, whether it was being a man and being responsible for certain deeds, or whether it was being a woman and being responsible for certain deeds, or not responsible for being a man and your actions, or a woman and not able to help, or not able to prevent, or not be able to protect, and do what on a limbic brain level you're supposed to be able to overcome obstacles. And so when you don't, there's fears that are inbuilt, and one of the big things is shame, which maybe you've let down a group of people, you've let down your tribe or your society, you've let down your family or small community of perhaps partner that's a child rearing partner for your kids, or you've let down your own body, which is where we come to today at the end of thousands of years of humanity experiencing not being kind, not being human and kind. We're experiencing on that physical level the consequences of, maybe I didn't do such a great job of being human. Maybe I didn't do my body the respect and the service I needed. Humanity, when we first started evolving, we weren't so able to understand the consequences of our behavior. So perhaps acts of violence were experienced in order to survive, and that's survival of the fittest is a part of evolution. It's a part of how we know that we survived in order to either keep the tribe alive, keep my children alive, my offspring alive, or my descendants alive. So a lot of things and choices were made based on behaviors that maybe we judged, maybe we were also attacked, and then created defense systems or fear. And it's stored in your ancestral genes, and handed down to you. Now, as society has evolved, as culture has rapidly evolved, and we expect from our love relationships that there is an equal respect and a mutual understanding of each other, what has happened with that shame is this incredible moment to see it for the first time. If you think about our species, humanity has been really just getting to make offspring so those offspring could make more offspring and populate the planet. And yeah, we've created cultures and nations, and that's a huge outgrowth. We've done immense things in terms of civilization. And we have got to the point now in relationships where we're actually asking for that next level of mutual respect and coming together to truly celebrate the individual, celebrate each other, and celebrate the potential of the relationship. So it is necessary that any shame from ancestors, from past things you might have done in this life, comes to be seen, and you literally chomp it through. I'm going to go over chomping it through. Chomp through any shame feelings and just dump them. As you can see in the media these last 20 to 30 years, there's been incredible exposure of things such as child abuse and the excess of pornography, of putting humans and children into situations of extreme vulnerability, and we are becoming aware of it globally. We are so verbal and globally aware of it now. It's unavoidable. These topics were just part of human existence, 50 years ago, 40 years ago. The last 20 to 30 years, going back to the 80s, we've had huge exposure, even with Oprah talking about her own experience and touching millions and millions of people's lives on camera. So you begin to see that we can't hide this as a culture anymore. And for personal relationships, it means that if you do feel the need to get rid of that part of yourself in your life, we want to have it done in a way that's truly appropriate for you, not in a way that somebody else may have done it and it worked for them. We need to discover, as I say, the most important love story of all is yours, and part of this love story of yours is discover how you need to or desire to deal with shame, or shame that might be in your family, shame that might be in your body. So we're going to look at, in the meditation aspect today, how to actually just relate between the heart and the gonads in a way that's just able to bring balance between those two parts of the body. The gonads is where a lot of stuff gets stored about sexual shame. There's not only sexual shame, there's also the shame of the entire physical body. You could be feeling ashamed because somehow something happened in your life where somebody looked at you in a certain way and your nervous system remembered being exposed. So the reaction at that point, for no conscious reason, is the nervous system is going to hold that sense of being exposed and tighten. So when we do any meditation, what we're triggering and entraining the physical body and the nervous system is to begin to just accept. And I say quite a bit on the I Love Mondays video to really just begin to create that heart space. We can literally shine the light on yourself and feel and see. And there's no need to eradicate or remove, but we do need to see what may be an alternative heart space or love that you wish to create, step into, call in, manifest, whatever you want to call it, and magnetize in a way in the nervous system itself. So reviewing our emotional nervous system, our flight or fight or freeze response nervous system. I mentioned before with shame that there's moments where you can be looked at in a certain way and that your nervous system feels vulnerable, like a deer in the headlights, and that's a freeze response. And it's very natural. It's nothing. There's nothing wrong with people if they respond that way. It's actually a defense system, And I want this to be acknowledged. Like, I can remember vividly that moment you might see with a little kid where you're like smiling at them or really engaging, and then they go, oh, and they're like a little kid, like 3 or 4 years old, and they're already feeling like, oh, that's too much attention for me. I don't need that right now. From those very young moments, we can program a sense of withdrawal. We look at different personality types, introvert to extrovert. Some people love to be the center of attention. Other people naturally, innately, don't want to be exposed. So very often shame can get programmed from feeling too much attention is brought to you at a time where you may not be ready to respond. And you know, typically when you're a kid, it's nice if an adult can coach you or coax you to feeling safe no matter what's going on. But it doesn't matter if the parent does the best job. That kid, that nervous system of that kid, can still program a feeling of feeling too exposed. So at that time, 1,000 things could happen. A little story could go into the limbic brain, and you could feel at any time like my body isn't exactly being able to be received right now, and therefore that gets programmed. I'm not attractive, I'm not able to have intimacy because that's too vulnerable. I might lose myself, I might not know what to do, I might not actually have a sense of connection to myself because I'm not feeling safe. So many stories about shame can get programmed really young. If your parents have any stress or shame or stories about sexuality or showing off your body or being free in your body, that innately gets transferred on. So that's another layer of transferring of shame into the body, and not just about sexual intimacy, but just about any sense of being exposed or seen or heard or acknowledged or recognized when you don't feel particularly comfortable in a situation to do so. So that's one area of where shame gets stored through the limbic system. And then there may be situations of violence or aggression around that then create a sense of shame from not knowing how to deal with it. So when we're looking at the fight or flight response system of the nervous system of the body, if there is aggression around you, there's actually parts of your nervous system and your brain that will shut down to avoid it, to cope or survive. And so you can actually have a feeling of shame because you just didn't know how to deal with the situation of aggression. And there's nothing wrong with that, totally natural part of the limbic system. What we're going to do in the meditation today is simply create the heart and the gonad connection, allow you to start breathing into that pelvic floor and just feel that there's a pathway for the body to release that nervous system response. If you don't have a way to release the energy throughout the body or through the pelvic floor or out through the top of your body or through your breath, there's very little way to reprogram that limbic system. There are lots of therapies that help. You can use oils, you can use massage to actually soften the nervous system response and relax you and retrain the nervous reactions of the nervous system to a different state of peace and calm. But the stories of the limbic brain are so powerful that you really need to give space and attention to how you respond in a situation of shame. Do you shut down because you just didn't know how to deal with something aggressive in the past, or aggression just doesn't work for you? Or you might just feel, what do I do here? I'm a deer in the headlights. And so the other part is flight. So we've done shut down or freeze, we've done a fight response, and some people in the fight response will also become aggressive if they have shame. And we see that a lot through our planet with violence, that there are a lot of people who commit acts of violence because they were shamed or felt in some way powerless. So violence is a response to make up for that. And if you look at people who commit violence, you will notice at some point that they were either rejected, they were shamed into feeling less, or they were feeling like they couldn't find friendship, intimacy, someone to find them attractive. So they felt very unattractive. And that's underneath their lots of stuff about shame. So the flight syndrome, when you just take yourself out of the equation. So when there's situations of shame, often when we haven't been able to verbalize, if you have experienced abuse, or if you have been violated, or if you've just been told to shut up when you were growing up, there's these situations where you feel a deep unspoken shame. And I connect this more to the flight response of the flight and freeze response of the nervous system, where you literally just feel like, I'm not going to even bother anymore. I'm going to take myself out of the equation. So it leads to addiction, it leads to avoidance behavior, it leads to passive aggressive behavior, non-verbal responses, like I'm not going to deal with this behavior. I have a lot of people that often have the syndrome of somebody not returning their texts or phone calls after they started being intimate with them, or sexting, or having some sort of potential intimate interaction, and suddenly the other person disappears and they're a non-event. Now, I'm not saying that they're feeling shame. It's a bit literal to say that, but I'm saying that the pattern of withdrawal is deeply embedded in all of us when we don't know what to deal with feelings that we might not be able to just understand in the moment, or I don't know if I actually follow through on this sexual energy or this intimate connection, whether I'll actually be able to control it, whether I would like it, or whether I would actually feel wanting, desiring to continue. So a lot of things about not being XYZ enough and not being able to handle a situation programs very non-verbal aspects or feelings of shame in all of us. So the meditation in this particular video is to actually, as I mentioned, balance the heart and the pelvic floor and the gonads. And then we're going to actually surrender a lot of any old habits from that limbic brain nervous system, from the center of our brain, and just release it with the breath down through the pelvic floor. And this isn't to say that, with one intent, everything can be released, but it's to actually train you and show the body that these things are old habits that have really nothing to do with you. You've been a product of humanity at the very end of a long chain of events, and it's time to actually see that you don't have to respond in the way that your limbic brain might be programmed to, and that there is another space or option. And so when we're breathing and releasing down through the pelvic floor into the earth, the idea in that meditation is to just surrender everything that you can that's no longer yours. You have a channel of energy inside of your body. Some people call it the Kundalini energy, some people call it the chakra system. It doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you know that it doesn't have to be the same nervous system response that when you're in your more conscious mind or in a love relationship situation, there's that go-to response. So if you have a typical response to somebody not responding to your text, or not being able to get what you want, or somebody not responding to you in the way that you want, there is another alternative to what outcome you could have from the connection. And that's simply all we're bringing in today, healing any deep fears around the shame by calling in what would be a more supportive heart space for you as you move forward. So let's begin that meditation now. And as I've been talking, if anything has been triggered in your body, then notice if there is something there, probably just signaling for you to see that there's emotions or fears or just feelings or sensations there in the body. And we're going to just feel into any parts that may need extra light or breath as we do the first breathing and relaxation. So now, closing the eyes, bring your awareness to the hips, as an anchor for the body. If you're seated on a chair, then really focus on the sitting bones underneath the hips on the chair. So they're either side of the sacrum, and they're sort of like directly above the heels of the feet at the top of the leg bones themselves, and they actually create the base of the pelvis. And your butt cheeks are supported or supporting the sitting bones themselves. So you can rock back and forward over the sitting bones and begin to just feel with that rocking a sense of gently floating the heart center over the sitting bones. So you can actually begin to feel as you rock side to side, that center of the chest rocks over the sitting bones, almost like a ship on the water, a little sailboat on the water bobbing over the sitting bones. And with the feet hopefully on the floor, you can also feel the feet also involved in supporting those sitting bones and the heart rocking over them. And then gently bringing that to a stillness, so the heart comes into a center over the sitting bones. So now bring your awareness and your breath into the middle of the pelvis, just halfway between your belly button and your pelvic floor, or the space between your inner thighs. So halfway between there is an energy point, and it is your uterus or prostate area. So bring your awareness there. And at this point, you can just breathe into the center of the lower belly there, halfway between your belly button and your pelvic floor. See if you can allow your breath to really just expand it gently and just relax. And then you can also begin to soften the pelvic floor, making some sounds like just an ah sound or releasing sound, so the pelvic floor can actually relax. And again, it's a bit floaty, just like that sailboat as well. So then you can feel the heart center in the center of the chest, again floating above the pelvic floor. And we're going to breathe into that heart center over the pelvic floor and making some sounds, so you can feel that release. And if you don't feel comfortable making sound, use a breath to just relax. If you need to take some bigger breaths into the chest to release any tension, then do so. And if there was any tension in the body at all, just use the breath to bring more energy and relaxation to that part of the body. So now we're going to come to our awareness in the center of the brain, and we're going to use the golden light, which actually connects you to your higher self and higher intelligence. So the golden light we're going to see in that middle brain. It's right in the middle of the ears. And just imagine in the middle of the brain a golden light. As you inhale, you see that golden light. And as you exhale, you feel the golden light radiating. And then from that middle brain, you visualize the golden light going all the way down into the heart center. It's like a line of golden energy coming down into the heart center, and as it reaches the heart center, as you breathe into the heart, you now see that golden light there expanding and radiating with your inhale, expanding, and with your exhale, radiating out of the center of your heart. And now from that heart center, just see the golden light streaming down into the lower belly, halfway between your belly button and the pelvic floor. Feel like streaming energy going down, and with your breath, you can also visualize the breath streaming that energy down into the pelvis, into that second chakra, down into the softness of the lower belly, below your belly button, feeling the golden energy now expanding, 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 bringing into balance the heart center, the brain, and the pelvic center. So our three centers of gravity here, our brain, our heart center, pelvic center. And so the intent for this exercise today is to ask for release or healing of any shame that you may carry in your physical body. So as you feel the connection between the brain, heart, and pelvic center, just ask to release or heal any energy connected to shame in the physical body now. And as you breathe in, feel the golden energy filling you up, whether it's your brain, your heart, your pelvis, or all three lights now shining. And as you exhale, see the golden light radiate down into the earth center and transforming any old energies connected to shame, whether they be yours or whether they come from any other part of your family, your society, your culture, or humanity itself. Just ask for anything that you may carry in your physical body now to be released or healed as you breathe that energy down and out through the feet. And then we're going to ask one more time for any old energies and emotions or fears that you may carry connected to shame to be released from the physical body and healed by the golden light itself. So you can now see your entire energy body, the circle of energy around your physical body, your aura, filled with the golden light. And so that anything now in your physical body, your skin, your nervous system, the tips of your fingers, your hair, your nails, even the very tips of your toes, your heels, any extremities of your body, even the gonads or the pelvic floor area, back of the skull. Just feel any energies connected to old feelings of shame to be released right now into the aura filled with the golden light. So it's almost just radiating out as you breathe out and release all of those old energies connected to shame. No longer yours. And then just ask for your higher self to take those energies through the energy body, the aura, and transform them into the universal energy or divine consciousness. Feel the golden light just radiating out from your body into your aura and even beyond. And then bring your awareness back to the center of the brain and the top of your head. Breathing in and exhale down the heart center, your spine, and down to the pelvis and out through your feet, anchoring yourself back in the chair or where you're seated. And as you connect to your physical body, express your thanks or awareness of how powerful it is to have this body. And when you feel grounded, gently open your eyes. So thank you for experiencing the shame-free body that we're building. And I'm Angela Ambrosia, and next time we're going to look at words and thoughts, how to create new language for a new body of love. Have a blessed week.